Toy Story is one of Pixar's most important and incredible franchises. But have you ever noticed how much it has evolved over the course of the movies? Development. The truth is, Toy Story could have been completely different. During the development of the first movie, several ideas for the project were scrapped. At first, Woody was going to be a ventriloquist dummy instead of a regular doll, and that would have made him much scarier. And we really mean scary because Woody was also going to be more villainous. You know that moment when the sheriff accidentally knocks Buzz Lightyear out the window? The original idea was that Woody would have done it on purpose and never apologized for it. Buzz Lightyear would have been very different too, with a smaller body and a much bigger head. At one point, the movie's production team even considered making his spacesuit red instead of white. The most shocking part is that his name would not even have been Buzz Lightyear. Initially, the idea was to call him Lunar Larry, another pretty cool name, but nothing beats Buzz Lightyear. If you thought that was interesting, get excited because we're going to tell you everything about the evolution of Toy Story. You know what's starting. It's another awesome Cinewave! Toy Story, 1995. After going through a few changes, the first movie about toys that secretly come to life was released on November 22nd, 1995, making history as the first feature-length film in cinema history to be made entirely with 3D animation. Since then, 3D animated movies became more and more popular, until almost every animated movie released in theaters ended up being made in 3D. That's right, Toy Story changed the game. Since it was created when 3D animation was still just getting started, the movie has a very simple but charming look. Its story does not fall behind either, showing how Woody's gang met Buzz Lightyear, who at that time believed he was a space ranger instead of a toy. Woody starts feeling very jealous because Buzz quickly became Andy's favorite toy. However, they need to join forces when they are captured by Sid, a spoiled kid who loves doing bizarre experiments on his toys, and they barely manage to escape. Over time, Woody and Buzz became friends, and that friendship has lasted to this day, as we can see in Toy Story 5. Toy Story 2, 1999. The story of Woody and his friends could have ended with the first movie, and it already would have been great, but thankfully, Pixar realized these characters deserved much more than that. That is how Toy Story 2 arrived in theaters on November 24th, 1999. This time, the story follows Woody being taken by a rare toy collector. Because of that, the sheriff discovers that he is a very rare and old toy based on the main character from Woody's Roundup, a children's show from the 1950s. But the best part of this movie is certainly the introduction of Jessie, who becomes very important to the entire franchise. The villain, meanwhile, is Stinky Pete, a collector's toy who wants to stay preserved forever. Stinky Pete's plan was to stop Woody, Jessie, and Bullseye from escaping the collector so they could all be sold to a Japanese toy museum. Luckily, the cowboy and his new friends manage to escape with help from Buzz and Andy's other toys, while Stinky Pete ends up being taken by a very messy girl who definitely covered his face in glitter after that. Toy Story 3. It took quite a while for Toy Story 3 to be released. While the first two feature films had a 4-year gap between them, the third movie was only released 10 years after the second one. Toy Story 3 came out on June 18th, 2010. After going through production problems and dealing with complicated contract issues between Disney and Pixar, the wait was worth it because to this day, the movie is considered by many to be the best Toy Story in the franchise. The jump in animation quality is huge and the story is very emotional. This movie takes place several years after the others, and nothing is the same as before. Andy is older and is about to move away for college, and the toys, which had been stored away for several years, end up being accidentally donated by Andy's mom. And that is when the problems begin, because the daycare is run by Lotso, a teddy bear who may seem nice at first, but is secretly a cruel tyrant. In the end, the toys manage to return home, but Andy decides to donate them himself, and that is how Andy's old toys end up in the hands of a child named Bonnie. Toy Story 3 is considered the end of the original trilogy and the end of Andy's story. By the way, what is your favorite movie in the franchise? Comment hashtag Toy Story down below along with your answer. Toy Story Tunes. Even though the original idea was for Toy Story 3 to be the end of the saga, and that remained true for a long time, Pixar never had a problem releasing shorts with little adventures featuring Woody and his friends after the events of the third movie. That is how Toy Story Tunes was born, a series of 3 shorts, each only a few minutes long, that were released alongside other Disney movies. The first short in this series is called Hawaiian Vacation, and it was released to audiences on June 24th, 2011, together with Cars 2. The story shows the toys recreating the Hawaii experience for Ken and Barbie because Ken plans to give her their first kiss on a beach at sunset. Then came Small Fry, released alongside The Muppets on November 23rd, 2011. In it, Buzz Lightyear is left behind at a restaurant, while a miniature miniature version of him steals his place among Bonnie's toys. Finally, Partysaurus Rex came as a bonus with the 3D theatrical re-release of Finding Nemo on September 14th, 2012, and that is the best possible name for a short about Rex throwing a huge party during bath time. Yes, this short is exactly about that. Besides the Toy Story Toons shorts, we also got 2 other shorts before the release of the 4th movie. One of them is called Toy Story of Terror, and it is a Halloween special that came out on October 16th, 2013. The next one was released the following year, on December 2nd, 2014, and its name is Toy Story, That Time Forgot. Toy Story 4. For a long time, everyone thought Toy Story 3 would forever be the last movie about Pixar's toys, but that changed on June 21st, 2019, with the arrival of Toy Story 4. The movie puts Woody on a new journey alongside Forky, a toy made by Bonnie out of recycled materials that ended up coming to life on its own. This was certainly the feature film with the biggest leap in animation quality compared to the previous movie. Toy Story 3 already looked incredible, but the 4th movie is so beautiful that it is honestly surprising. The villain this time is Gabby Gabby, who is far from being as evil as the previous villains. After all, her goal was only to get Woody's voice box and put it inside herself because she thought that would make a girl choose her. So much so that the sheriff helps Gabby Gabby find an owner in the end. Speaking of him, this movie brings a huge change for Woody. He decides to leave and become a lost toy with Bo Peep, while his other friends stay with Bonnie. Forky asks a question. Forky stole the spotlight in Toy Story 4, to the point that he got his own spin-off. Completely focused on comedy, Forky Asks a Question is a series of shorts released between 2019 and 2020. In each short, he tries to find the answer to a specific question, like what love, time, or money is. It makes sense since Forky is so new and is still learning about the world. Bo Peep's Adventures, 2020. Another character who got a spin-off was Bo Peep, Woody's girlfriend. But in her case, this short has an important reason to exist. Called Lamp Life, the 2020 short shows what happened to Bo Peep in the meantime between her departure in Toy Story 2 and her impressive return in Toy Story 4. And if you're not subscribed yet, you know what to do. Click and hit the bell so you don't miss any videos. Lightyear, 2022. For a long time, Toy Story was a franchise 100% focused on toys. But Lightyear came along on June 17th, 2022 to change that. This is certainly the most different movie in the franchise, since it is a spin-off that tells the story of Buzz Lightyear, not the toy who thought he was a real astronaut. We are talking about the space explorer those toys are based on. In other words, this is an adventure and science fiction movie with Buzz Lightyear traveling through space and fighting Emperor Zurg. Within the Toy Story universe, this entire story is also a movie that Andy watched as a child. Toy Story 5, 2026. Just as many people thought the 3rd movie would be the last one in the franchise, most fans also believed the 4th movie would end the main saga, at least when we do not count the shorts. Then, to everyone's surprise, Toy Story 5 arrived on June 19th, 2026. Once again, the animation quality evolved in a sensational way, to the point where you feel like you could touch each of Bonnie's toys. The story of the movies has also evolved over time, since Toy Story 5 talks about a very important and current subject. Children are playing with toys less and less and prefer using electronic devices like phones, tablets, and computers. Because of that, the villain of the movie is Lilypad, a tablet that gets Bonnie addicted to her, to the point that she abandons her toys. Meanwhile, the main character is not Woody, but Jessie, who does everything she can to help Bonnie make friends. Woody did return, but only as a supporting character. What no one expected was that, unlike the other movies, this one would explore something none of the previous ones had explored in depth: romance. More specifically, the romance between Jessie and Buzz Lightyear. Of course, there have always been couples in Toy Story: Woody and Bo Peep, Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head, and so on. However, we can all agree that none of the other movies did anything that reached the level of Jessie kissing Buzz Lightyear and marrying him at the end. It is not only the movies that are evolving, but the characters too. Toy Story 6. Now that we have reached the most recent movie released, it is time to ask the following question. How will the franchise evolve in Toy Story 6? Because it is almost certain that there will, yes, be another sequel. Pixar tried to convince us that Toy Story 3 would be the end, and made us think the same thing a second time with Woody leaving in Toy Story 4. The new movie, on the other hand, did not even come close to trying to give the saga a final ending. It feels much more like Toy Story 5 is just another adventure with with Bonnie's toys, because everyone knows it is only a matter of time before a sequel gets made. Andrew Stanton, the director of the most recent movie, made it clear that he is interested in making Toy Story 6 to complete Bonnie's story. That way, the saga will be divided between Andy's trilogy and Bonnie's trilogy. You can start getting ready to say goodbye to Bonnie, because it is only a matter of time before her trilogy comes to an end. It's almost over, but until then, you can stay with us. There are 2 super fun videos waiting for you. Thanks, and see you next time.